This is a global tel-link update call from
Kent Hovind.
an inmate at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. This call will be recorded and monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $29.22. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right.
All right. No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. I looked that up while you were calling back. I think it might have been Prophetess Anna. Was that sound ring a bell?
Yes, that rings a bell. Huh?
Okay, very good. Also, Randall said he missed your call, and if you want to call him back later today, he'll try to be by the phone. So he'd been talking to my wife. So.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, the next email comes in from Sister Agape. At least that's her email address. And she writes, attached is a book called The Evolution of Man, Scientifically Disproved by Reverend William A. Williams, written in 1925. And just to let you know, Pastor Hovind, we printed that off, and that's headed to you. Hopefully we'll get to you sometime early next week. It says, please ask Brother Hovind if he has read it or if he knows about it. I think it is good, and it seems to be written by a man much like Brother Hovind. Maybe you would like to put it up on your site so that others can read it too. Here are a few links where people can read the book. And then she gives a few links. Keep encouraged. I'm praying for Pastor Kent Hovind and Paul. I enjoy listening to Brother Kent speak. Please continue to stand for the truth. Tell Brother Kent we're praying for him and to tell him to remember the song, Great is Thy Faithfulness. Thank you. Blessings. Agape. John 15:5. You can read this email to him if you like, and we just did. So.
Amen. I am not familiar with the book by Reverend Williams from 1925, but ever since Darwin wrote his book in 1859, there have been people who have opposed the evolution theory. There was Bishop Wilberforce in the famous debate there with Thomas Huxley back in the 70s or something. There have been plenty of people. There have always been opposition to Darwin, both from the Christian community and from the scientific community. There was great opposition to Darwin from the scientific community right from the beginning. They've pretty much been silenced by various means, but I've not seen it. I would love to see it. I think that many of the early Christians, like 1925, that's when the Scopes monkey trial was held in Dayton, Tennessee, commonly called the Scopes monkey trial. Tennessee passed a law that said you cannot teach. Now, what was the law? They said you have to teach creation. I forget the wording of the law, but the ACLU, the American Communist Lawyers Union, wanted to challenge that law. Now, they lost the case, but they won in the public relations end. They won in the media, which I think, same with my case here. Win or lose this case, I think there's enough media attention that the government is losing in the public opinion. What they did to me is just simply wrong. You don't lock a man up for 10 years for what? For taking your money out of the bank? This is dumb on multiple levels, not criminal at all, and I think the whole thing is, so win or lose, I think the public opinion, and Rudy, you could probably see that, take that temperature better than I could, but it looks like there's certainly people are understanding this whole case was dumb from the start.
Yes, amen. There's a lot of people waking up.
Your question? Yeah, to answer Agape's question, I've not seen the book. I would love to see it, and thank you. I appreciate it. I will point out that probably since 1925, many thousands of new evidences have come up against evolution. And the groups that keep up with that, the latest research, ICR.org, for instance, Answers in Genesis, they have whole staffs of people that are working to keep up with the latest research against this dumb theory that we all came.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
4.6 billion years ago. So whatever Williams had, I'd love to see it, and just point out that a lot more has been added since then. All right, thank you.
All right, no, thank you, Pastor Hovind. So this next email comes from Andrew, and I didn't get his permission to say his last name, so we'll just call him Andrew. He says, Andrew from Sydney, Australia, who is also praying for Paul J. Hansen. I used to work on 2 websites as a webmaster a few years back, along with 2peter3.com too. I have spoken to Paul many times over email/Skype, and he was a very nice man. Paul always spoke highly of Kent, and probably one of the best people to know in prison, as he knows a lot about the law. Thanks, Rudy. So Andrew just wanted, I think, you to receive that message, and I don't know if that rings a bell, but it looks like he used to even work on 2 Peter 3.
It did. I know his last name, and I had to tell him thank you. I was wondering if he was still alive down under over there. I was over there for like a week in Australia, and a very difficult language to learn. I thought I spoke English till I went over there. Gee whiz. My wife and I were standing there in the church, and the piano teacher walks up, and she's got her little 5-year-old son, and she says, "Mrs. Hovind, would you please nurse my son?" The wife looked to her with like, "Excuse me?"
Excuse me.
I said, "That's okay. That just means babysit."
There you go.
Well, I was at the restaurant, and I said to the waitress, I said, "Ma'am, could you please give me a napkin?" And the preacher elbowed me and said, "Don't ask for that." I said, "Why not?" He said, "That's a diaper over here." I said, "Oh, what do I want?" He said, "You want a serviette?" "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Give me a serviette." So I thought I spoke English till I met the Australians, and I don't think we speak the same language. But Andrew, thank you for all the help you've been. Please keep spreading those, and if you have any ideas on making the website go more viral, get a hold of Randall, the webmaster of 2 Peter 3. I want it. He's got it backed up in 100 places, and just help him any way you can. Thank you. And Paul and I are roommates together now, finally, after all these months. So I'll tell him you contacted us. Thank you.
No, very good. And Andrew will be glad to hear that. Be glad to hear your message. So praise God for Andrew. All right. The next question comes in from Amy, and Amy has a lot of questions about marriage, and I'll just begin to read it. We have been hearing about so many people living together that say we are married because we made a covenant with each other. What constitutes a marriage? This is what a friend just emailed us. Are there any other options? It is obviously more than sex, but what? And then she has 4 questions. The first question is, are 2 people married when they solemnly commit to be love each other forever? She has 4 questions, and that's her first question.
I'm not the one to ask that question. I don't know. There are legal ramifications. You have to wonder, why is the state involved in this at all? What business? Does the state give permission to get married? That's what a marriage license is, from the word licentious. I think the other option to look at it is, no, you can notify the state. There was no such thing as a marriage license in America until after the Civil War. Abe Lincoln didn't have a marriage license. George Washington didn't have one. They had a marriage covenant, and often they had a ceremony at the church, kind of more traditional. What did Adam and Eve have? What did Noah and his wife have? I don't know. So I'm not the one to answer. There's people who make a big deal out of that. And I think if you get married, you make a marriage covenant, which used to be just both of you sign the front page of the family Bible, and then you go notify the county, hey, we're married. You don't ask them if you can. You tell them that you did. They have a right to kind of keep track of who's with who. And, of course, if children are produced, then there's got to be some legal ramifications of, well, what if the dad doesn't support them? Now what? Or the mother doesn't support them? Now what? So it's a complicated issue, and I'm not the one to answer that. Maybe Paul could do that. I'll get a hold of him and ask him his thoughts on that.
No, very good. Thank you, Pastor Hovind. I've got a friend who, I think I've mentioned him to you before, called Tommy. He's a mixture between Moses and Santa Claus, but he seems to think that the biblical definition of marriage is simply sex. That when a man and woman get together and they've married each other when they commit the act of sex. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard arguments of along those lines as well. But like you said, we'll leave that up for others. If maybe at some point, if Amy wants to write you a letter, maybe you can pass that along to Paul as well. Okay, I'll move on to the next email, sir. The next question is from Stan, and Stan writes, "Dear Dr. Kent, I was wondering if you knew what cryptozoology was, and if you would recommend any books on the topic." And he has a follow-up question as well.
I do know what cryptozoology is, and there are many good books on the topic. Crypto means hidden, or not easy to see. Like a cryptic language is written that's hard to so crypto means hidden. Zoology is the study of animals. So cryptozoology would be the study of animals that are hidden or rarely seen. For instance, Loch Ness Monster is considered part of cryptozoology. Study an animal that nobody's really proven, rarely seen. There are many good books on the topic. You might want to get a hold of Dennis Peterson in Portland, Oregon. I don't remember his website. Dennis Peterson, Portland, Oregon. He's a pastor of a Nazarene church there. If you contact my son Eric, he can get you his contact info. He has written many good books on the subject of cryptozoology. The book that I wrote, the first book I wrote actually back in '99 was Claws, Jaws, and Dinosaurs. Co-authored it with William, gee whiz, haven't talked to William in 20 years. He's up in Canada too. Anyway, get that book. William has done a lot of research and actually has taken 4 trips to Africa, to the Congo, looking for Mokele Mbembe, the hidden dinosaur that apparently is still alive in the swamps in the Congo and Africa. So get that book, Claws, Jaws, Dinosaurs, or contact my son, Eric, and ask for the information about how to get a hold of William now. He was in Canada, but he's done a lot more research. There's another one, a man named Dave Wetzel, Wetzel, up in Concord, New Hampshire. Dave Wetzel's a friend of mine. He has a book, a website, Genesis Park. I think it's .com or .org. But David has done many trips, cryptozoology. He's one of the leading researchers in cryptozoology, I would say. So he would know the latest. I've been locked up 8.5 years and haven't seen a computer. So David Wetzel or Dennis Peterson or William, I'll think of the last name in a minute. Like I said, I haven't talked to him in 20 years. But he co-authored the book with me, Claws, Jaws, Dinosaurs, which we wrote for like 7th grade level. Introduction to the subject of cryptozoology. Okay, hope that helps.
No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. And it is genesispark.com. So I've never seen that website before.
Okay,
I'll look forward to checking that out. Also, I need to say that I misidentified it being from Stan. This email is not from Stan. It's from Isaac in Louisiana. So I misidentified that. He also has a follow-up question, and Isaac's follow-up question says, also my dad was wondering in the context of Daniel 9:24 through 27, is it talking about Isaiah's suffering servant who must be cut off from the land of the living so that many might be justified, as in Isaiah 53, 8 through 11? So why do people mistake Christ for the Antichrist in Daniel 9:27 when he, in verse 27, has to refer back to the anointed one, Christ, in the previous verses? And I can read that again slower if I...
You're with me to look, but I think the he in Daniel 9:27 is the Antichrist. I think if you read the whole chapter, he is going to make a covenant with many. I think that's the Antichrist making a treaty with many people that allows Israel to rebuild their temple. And I covered that in my book, What on Earth is About to Happen. If you check that in section 4A, appendix 4A of my book, I believe. I go through all the details of why he has to be Antichrist as opposed to Christ. I know there are those who teach it is the Christ, but the reason we say the temple has to be rebuilt is because in the middle of that week, which is obviously a heptad or a 7-year period, in the middle of that 7 years, he breaks the treaty and puts up an image in the temple. Well, there is no temple right now, so they have to have a temple built to be able to desolate it. It's called the Abomination of Desolation.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Mark 13, Luke 21, quite a few places in the Bible it talks about this abomination that maketh desolate. That happens in the middle of the 7-year period. So, I'll stick by my guns and I believe the he. I'm willing to listen to other arguments, but I think I've heard them all, and I still stick by my guns that the he is the Antichrist, not Christ. Okay. No, thank you.
No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. Also, that William, I looked it up real quick in Claws, Jaws. That was William J. Gibbons.
Gibbons, yeah, I just thought of it. William I can't believe I forgot his name. You'll find out when you get old.
Amen, amen. All right, the next question comes from an atheist, and the atheist
60 seconds remaining.
The atheist writes, and we can answer this later, but I'll go ahead and read it. Has any creationist ever seen the original copy of the Bible? Then, if not, then how do you know what it really said?
Well, has anybody seen the original copy of any ancient book written 2,000 years ago?
Amen.
No, they're all gone. It's obvious. The copies are fine. If the original still existed, somebody would be worshiping the paper instead of worshiping the God it writes about. So I think God in his wisdom made sure the original is not preserved. So nobody puts it in a gold box and marches it around town and makes everybody bow down. So,
Amen.
no, a lot of people saw the originals, but nobody alive today. Has anybody alive today seen Abe Lincoln? How do you know he existed? So, come on.
Great answer.
Anyway, all right. Thank you, brother. I'll call back later on.
Okay, God bless, Pastor Hovind.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, that was Pastor Hovind. It's always a pleasure to do Bible questions with him. I do need more Bible questions. I always try to be prepared when he calls. And also I need more creation evolution questions.
Those are the preferred choice.
Yeah, ruddavis@yahoo.com. Give me some creation evolution questions. We have 36 days, 14 hours, 5 minutes. And every call is precious, and we want to do as much as we can to make noise, shine light, and to raise public awareness about Kent Hovind's situation. We got an innocent man in prison, and they're trying to put him in prison for the rest of his life.